Hey guys, I just got these Zeal Clickies in, and they're pretty clicky. But I don't know, I think they're too clicky. It's like the sound is great, but it's just like it's too much, it's too tactile, in my opinion. Um, I've been using these all week at work. I just got them earlier in the week. I've been using them, 8 hours a day at work, and Um, I have noticed a little bit more finger pain than I normally have. I've got pretty big hands. I type fairly heavily. I think ink black stock springs are a little bit too light, in my opinion, for reference. But it's even just doing that, it doesn't feel like a fluid motion. It feels like four individual key presses. And when you translate that to like an entire typing an email or whatever, like it just feels like a very like you're typing with a low frame rate or something. Um, and but at the same time, that sound is pretty nice. So I just go over the specs of this. This is a Q1 Keychron Q1. It is like from the second round, I think. So before the knob version came out, before the Q2 came out. And I've got, what are these called? 2048 MT3 keycaps from Mass Drop or Drop. Pretty good keycaps. I actually really like these. It takes a little bit of a while, like maybe like a day. It took about a full day for me to get used to the different profile from Cherry or OEM or whatever, but once you get used to them, it feels nice on your finger, and it's got a good sound. They're pretty thick. Unrelated note, these do not work well on a Q1 though. As you can see, you hear that scratch. That's the keycap is like interfering. There's interference with the case, and that's on all these edge keys here. You can't really notice there's much with these because these all have clickies in them. I only bought 50 clickies. I think there's like something like 70 something switches in this keyboard, and I only have about 50, so that's enough for all the numbers, all the letters, these three keys, that one, space bar, but then the rest of them are not. You can hear a little bit of interference on that corner too. These are, I want to say these are Dirac linears down here, and then these are completely stock ink blacks. I had these. I had lubed and filmed ink blacks in here before, and I don't know about you guys, but when I lube switches, I never lube a full batch of 80 switches or whatever. I just do like 27s, enough for the letters in the space bar, because that's all you're really going to be using, right? If you just do that and you do like the bulk take apart brush method, you could get like 27 done in about an hour, maybe 2 hours if you're slow. But it's unrelated. I think that's also could be part of the reason that I think this is too tactile, because I'm going from a smooth ass linear to so some comparisons. I did not have enough clickies to fill these two keys, so these are actually box jades. And I figured I wanted to put some box jades in here just so I'd have a reference. So these are the clickies, box jades. As far as the sound goes, it does sound pretty similar, closer to anything else than I've heard to a Blue Alps. And I do have some Gateron Blues, but I don't know where they are, and I don't want to bust them out. There actually is a certain plasticky sound to the clickies, but it's not bad the way that like an MX Blue or a Click Jacket is, because the way that the mechanism works is that the click leaf basically bashes against the side of the case, which is made side of the case of the switch rather, which is made of plastic. So there is a certain plastic kind of thwacking sound to it, but it's a very deep sound, which is why it's nice. Compared to the box jades, that actually does sound more metallic, but I think it's a little bit higher pitched and a little bit thinner sounding. Well, depending on the way you want to look at it, this, you could maybe argue that the Box Jade could be considered a deeper pitch from a very, very specific standpoint and perspective. But I just think that the Clickies sound much fuller and have a lot more character to the sound, as opposed to Box Jades. That's kind of the way I feel about Inks too, as opposed to direct linears. Inks have like a more of a full sound, even if it's not necessarily always lower pitched, but it just kind of got a little more resonance, you know. Also regarding this Q1, there's no foam. It's got a tape mod, and I did like a half-ass force break mod. I didn't have whatever the actual stuff you're supposed to use. I just used Gorilla Tape because I figured Gorilla Tape has a certain level of squishiness to it, but I don't recommend doing that because if you screw the case down, the adhesive will actually like kind of squish out from under the Gorilla Tape, and then so whenever I take this apart, it's like ever so slightly stuck together by tape. And I'm sure if you're not careful, the tape can probably maybe get inside the case too, which is probably not ideal, but you know, whatever. So do I like the Clickies? Yes, but I don't know. I think I need to spend a little more time with them before I give a final verdict, but they're just a little bit too much. I don't know how people hold their phone and film and record a sound test with both hands at the same time, so I'm gonna have to put this down to give you guys a sound test, which I assume you want. So, you know, give me a couple minutes for that. Yeah, okay, so I think a much better version of these switches would be obviously the real Blue Alps, which are not gettable, and then buckling springs are probably the next best Clicky switch in terms of feel, but not the best in terms of sound. And that's kind of I think the general consensus on Alps versus buckling springs. Alps versus IBM, it's like buckling springs kind of feel better in a way. A lot of people will probably agree, but the sound is generally considered to be inferior. I have a couple of buckling spring keyboards. I'll bust one out here in a second. And I have, for fun comparison, I have a couple of those keychain switches, or I have one. You can get these on eBay. This is like, I don't know, $10 or something. This is a capacitive buckling spring from a Model F. I actually floss modded this one just because I was curious as to how that works, and now I can't get the floss out. So there is a little tiny piece of floss inside the barrel here, and I can't get it out. So this would normally be much more pingy, but this, so yeah, I don't know if I recommend the floss mod. The ping is kind of a certain characteristic of the IBM keyboards. So now, keeping this in mind, this came with this nice little, you know, plastic base. It's just super glued on there, I think. I thought I could probably do that, and so a long time ago I bought some vintage blacks off of this dude on Reddit and on Mech Market, and I guess he's like a, you know, kind of a amateur dealer, and he threw in some a dealer of vintage keyboard stuff, and he threw in a real Alps, Blue Alps SKCM whatever. It's a Blue Alps, and it's not in the best condition, but it does give a good idea of the sound and feel of one. And so I took the idea of this. I had this loose switch lying around, and I thought, you know, what if I just put a base on this? But I didn't know how to get, you know, a nice clear piece of plastic like this, so I just cut a little tiny square of wood out of a scrap from Home Depot and then glued it on. So this is what I've got here. Real nice, real high quality. This is the Blue Alps switch. This is an Apple keycap that I bought also off eBay. I forget which one, which keyboard this is from. I want to say this is from the AEK. Yeah, not the Apple II keyboard. This is from the AEK, but that's the sound. Does sound pretty good. The feel of this one in particular, it's a bit scratchy. I feel like there's probably some dust in there. It's not, the switch itself is not in the best shape. I don't know if it works. Definitely doesn't work now because I bent the pins down and glued it to a piece of wood. But yeah, so compare that with Clicky. and along with, so the switch, this is here, and the keycap came in different, like, you know, were acquired separately, but along with this keycap, I bought like a set of 10 keycaps, I think, or 2 sets of 5 or something like that. The guy that bought those, that I bought those from, he threw in a knockoff switch, which I made here. It's like a Chinese knockoff of Blue Alps. And so this keycap is, I want to say this is from the Apple II, because it's got the kind of different, more like weird shape to it, if I get this to focus. And I gotta say, this is nowhere near as good as the real thing or the Clicky. All the crispness is gone. It is just super like mushy, and you can even hear it. It doesn't sound as good either. And that's kind of the best part about these, is that they're very crispy. This one's crisp and smooth. This is crisp, but like crisp taken to a level of excess that is not ideal. So in my opinion, I mean, I'm not like, I generally prefer, I think I prefer lube linears as my overall favorite type of switch. I also have used Holy Pandas as like the most tactile switch that I like. I guess not real Holy Pandas, I have Glorious Pandas, which I lubed them, but I don't think I used enough lube, because I was trying to really careful not to over lube them, but I basically don't think I lubed them enough at all. So I have quote unquote lubed and filmed Glorious Pandas, but they feel and sound pretty much the same as stock. And I think those are just about the limit of tactility that I would enjoy. I think like I've heard that Zealios and whatever the other type of big tactile switches, the Bobas, those are supposed to be even more tactile than Holy Pandas, and I'm not sure that I would want that. I do want to try the Bobas at one point. They'll probably be the next switch I get. If I hadn't gotten these Clickies, I probably would have gotten Bobas by now. Well, that'll probably be my next switch, and I don't know about Zealios. So these Clickies, I paid, pre-order price was $1.30 each, but once pre-order period ends, which I think is probably now or very soon, right now it's June 3rd, 2022, and they're going up to $1.50 each. So that's why I didn't buy enough to fill out this whole keyboard. I only bought 50. That was like $75 with shipping for those switches. So I mean, that's pretty goddamn expensive, man. Like damn, you know. But they are good switches. It's a special new proprietary design, you know. So I guess the value is there, but it's like, that's way more than I've ever spent on a switch, you know. And then going to $1.50, that's like, whoo, whoo. But yeah. So we're gonna do well, so the thing that really you know, kind of, I think that the biggest competitor in my head for this specific build of a keyboard that I have right here is probably this. Give me a sec. It's probably this. This is my new Model F. Hang on. It's not new. I've had it for about a year now. And let me tell you, this thing is awesome. Let me plug it in to the computer. It's really heavy. It's even heavier than the Q1, which is a pretty damn heavy keyboard in its own. This thing, you know, I'm pretty strong, and this is hard to lift with one arm at that angle. Yeah, this is these are capacitive buckling springs, reproduction capacitive buckling springs. This is an original. So there is a bit of a difference in sound between these two, which I can get into. Oh, I might make another video if I even post this. So comparing this, the crispness of this switch, it's definitely just as crisp as, you know, the Blue Alps or the Clickies, which hopefully you can hear that. This is crisp and smooth. You know, this is like, you just barely touch it and it goes down. As you can tell, this is very pingy. But you know, I kind of like it actually. And a little bit of rattle on the space bar, but so this keyboard's definitely not without its issues either, but I won't. This video is already 15 minutes long, so I'll save that for another time. But I think this, if there was a switch that sounded like Blue Alps and felt like this, like capacitive buckling springs, that would be like the greatest clicky switch who ever lived, without a doubt. But you know, I don't know, that's not possible, I guess. But so now when it comes into you know, price of all this stuff, you can't buy a keyboard with Clickiez, and you can't necessarily just, it's not super easy to buy one of these either. But I think the project is still going. You can go to newmodellf.com. This was, I forget how much I paid for shipping, but I want to say that I bought the keyboard. You normally buy a keyboard and then you buy, you don't have to buy keycaps. If you buy a keyboard without keycaps, those usually, it's got dust on it, goddamn. If you buy it without keycaps, those would ship sooner, but you would need to supply your own keycaps, either originals or ones from a Unicomp. And I also have a Unicomp, and let me tell you, those caps do not work in these barrels. Those caps are very scratchy in here. So anyone who did that, I would recommend getting some Model F keycaps. At least when I bought this, which was back in January of last year, of 2021, the guy running it was selling like essentially B-grade keycaps, which is what these are. It was basically just from the first run of keycaps. There's some slight imperfections, but they still costed more. But if you bought those, you would be put to the front of the line, essentially, from what I understand. So I bought this in January and received it probably like about less than a month later, I want to say. I received this very, very fast. I was not expecting it to receive that fast, and I was really surprised. And you know, because I've heard stories of people waiting years for this thing. I joined the group buy, or whatever you want to call it, pre-order, pretty late in life, pretty much. I think pre-order started like 5 years or something ago. But you know, hey, and apparently the guy that made this keyboard project is gonna try to make beam springs next. So I mean, that's probably gonna be twice as much as these. But I have always wanted to try beam springs. So this, I would say, the feel of this is very similar in as far as like crispness goes to the Clickiez and Blue Alps, but the sound is you know, a bit of an acquired taste. I would not want to use this in the office. I do not take this one to work. They're not ready for that. And also, you know, 60%. I like 60%. I think this looks great cosmetically. I like just the compactness and the symmetricality is the word. That's the real word. But I don't know. Just having to do that and that for arrow keys is just kind of weird, and I don't really like it. Like it's you know, I have it down to muscle memory, but it just doesn't feel right. You know, if you have to press like a mod here and then do an arrow key, that means you got to press this, then that, and then, you know, and you got to hold it, and there's a certain order. Like if you hold this one first, then that one. So I kind of wish that this had arrow keys, but at the same time, the one of these, the Model F with arrow keys, I think it looks weird. I don't like it. So, so never mind, you know. But all right, so cost of this, I want to say, was $450 shipped with the keycaps. The case with no caps is like $350 probably, and the keycaps were like $95. Shipping was probably like $50. So, you know, $450. That's a lot, but I mean, I have a job. I have a full-time job. So, if you don't have a full-time job, don't buy shit like this. But if you do, like, you don't have a family. So, cost of this $450. Cost of let me do a quick. I'm not gonna actually no. Cost of the Q1 with Zeal Clickies and MT3 drop keycaps. Q1's $150 plus like another like $20-30 for shipping from China. They don't tell you that. So side note, GMMK Pro is actually overall cheaper than the Q1 when you factor in shipping if you're in the US. But GMMK Pro is like kind of sucks in its own way. So you know. But cost of the Q1's $150, and then if you wanted to get enough clickies to fill out the entire board, that's probably gonna be like $80 to $90. So that's, you know, the and then the keycaps are like $120. So we're looking at like honestly the same price. We're looking at the same price. You know, it just depends. This keyboard has some issues, as you could hear. The Q key is fucked up. The spring is just like a little messed up. It's possible for this to like catch and the spring to not come back up sometimes. It's difficult to like do on purpose, but if you're pressing the Q key like really quickly and infrequently, which you tend to do with the Q key, you might run into that. Or if you're playing games or something. I don't play a lot of games on my computer, as you can see. I have a Mac, so I do have a Series X, but you know, let's not get started on console PC. But seeing how this is just the Q key, I don't really, it doesn't bother me that much. I could have like contacted the guy, gotten some replacement parts, and I think I would have to fix it myself ultimately. But that's not worth it. You know, this is more of a fun at home keyboard. Also, the O key stopped working sometimes. But you know, this is overall though, I still very much enjoy this keyboard. Now, busting out this one. You know, I like the Q1, like the model. It's great. I don't really like the look of a 75%. I think I literally never use these. The only reason that I got this was, ironically, I do sometimes play games on my Mac. I play like Doom and Quake, and you know, F6 is quick save and F9 is quick load. I think it's been a while since I haven't played them since Elden Ring came out. But so I do like having those, you know, and if anything, I might keep this as my gaming board. I have a Rama coming, but that's not coming until, you know, 2023, if not 4. That might be my new work keyboard, you know, and I'll keep this one for like gaming at home. But yeah, so I kind of forget what I was talking about at this point. I'll do a sound test for this since it's plugged in, and then I'll do one for this. All right. And I'm gonna have to put the phone down. So this is the new Model F. I'm gonna do a 50 word on monkey type. Alright, that wasn't very good. That was really bad accuracy, but you know what it sounds like. Now let me unplug this and do the Q1 with the clickies. Not editing this. I've never done YouTube before, and I don't really, none of my friends are really into mechanical keyboards. Like, they have them, like everyone in my office has a mechanical keyboard. The guy that sits next to me has a HHKB Type S Pro, you know, but they're not really into the hobby as much as anyone who's watching this video is. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to get some thoughts out there on the Zeal Clickiez, and you know, posting on MKG gets kind of old after a while. So these are box jades. These are the Zeal Clickiez. So I'll do another 50 word, and you get to see a great point of view here. So this is Q1. Exact specs are Q1, no foam, tape mod, Clickiez, MT3, drop keycaps. They are stock stabs other than the spacebar, which is a Duroc V2 screw-in that I lubed with dielectric grease, but you can't really hear it because it has a Clicky in it, but this spacebar, this stabilizer has a lot of rattle at the top, and I don't know if it's a problem with the Duroc that I got, or just I got a bad batch, or like, I don't know, I bought them off Amazon, so maybe they were knockoff Durocs, which Durocs in and of themselves are technically knockoffs too, so it's like, whew. Alright, here's the sound test. Keyboard's not plugged in. Oh yeah. I plugged the cable into the keyboard, I did not plug the cable into the computer. The Model F has a non-detachable, that's why I get confused. Okay, that's working. Alright, now. Fuck. Redo. Redo. That's a little better. Even worse accuracy. I was going to say, I can't type quite as fast on the Clickiez, but I have been using them all week at work, so I kind of gotten used to them a little bit. It still feels a little jarring on the fingers, just with the level of tactility. I have noticed, one thing I forgot to say about the Model F while I had it out, I do tend to type slower on that thing. I think it's a combination of the switches and the profile, the keycaps. IBM has this like really specific curved plate, which gives it a specific sculpted profile, which is different from cherry profile or whatever. It's like the plate is curved and the keycaps are uniform, as opposed to the plate being uniform or straight and the keycaps being curved or being sculpted. You know, you know, that probably covers it. This video is 27 minutes. Let me know what you think in the comments if you guys want to see more videos about keyboards. I do want to put these in my NK65 just to get another point of view of the switches. NK65 is a much stiffer keyboard than this. I forgot to mention the Q1 does the whole gasket mounting versus non-gasket mounting. It's a bit of a meme, but it does make a difference if implemented correctly. Which I could probably make another video about that at some point. So I don't know if you can really tell, but this is not, I have a horribly cheap IKEA desk in my apartment. So I can't really display the flex that well. Hopefully you can see that. But there is a noticeable amount of flex, and you do feel it while you're typing. And I think that does help with the Clickiez. I have a feeling when I put these in an NK65, it's going to exacerbate the problem of the tactility being too high. And it's not like, oh, my fingers hurt, even though they do. No, but it's not like, oh, my fingers hurt because it's too tactile. You know, no, that's not it. It's because I try to type fast. You know, my job, I send a lot of emails. I send a lot of very similar emails every day, so I'm essentially typing the same like set of like 500 words every day at work. So I'm very good at typing those words, and not being able to type them as fast as I normally do kind of messes with my head. So I try a little bit harder to type faster with these at work, and I end up moving my fingers faster, hitting them down a little bit harder, and that's when you start to get a little bit of pain. And not necessarily, it's not the fingers themselves, it's like it's the this part of your hand, like the muscles here. If I could just, it's I'm gonna do this. Okay, shadow. You see the shadow? It's that part. Alright, so, oh man, that was upside down. I'm sorry. So that's where the pain comes, and as you notice, I do use, I emulate split backspace and HHKB control because those have ergonomic benefits in relations to that part of your hand hurting or not hurting. When you use your keyboard for 8 hours a day, this stuff does actually start to add up. You know, that's why I use a wrist rest. I promise that the stains on this wrist rest are not jizz. There's just water. Or like, you know, like Sprite or something. Alright, this has gone on long enough. See you guys later. Thanks for watching.